Okay, here's a video from a channel called MC Toon Live. MC Toon is the guy up in the upper right corner, and there's a guy named Big Tech. Well, guy goes by the name of Big Tech in the middle there. Big Tech was in a conversation with a guy named Austin Woodson, who is a flat earther. Austin and McToon, or MC Toon, sorry, Habit, are going to Antarctica together. Well, that's the plan next month. There was a guy named Will Duffy who came up with this idea that if you take a flat earther and a regular person to Antarctica to see the 24-hour sun, you have witnesses on both sides, and something that first of all, flat earthers don't think Antarctica really exists. They think it's an ice wall around the edge of the earth keeping the water in. Yeah. Also, so plus also they don't think of the 24-hour sun exists because it can't exist on a flat earth. So because you'd have to see the sun. The sun would have to go around the edge of the earth, and it'd be a huge distance, and you wouldn't be able to see it from one end to the other. So they're going to Antarctica. It's called the final experiment. MC Toon, sorry again. It wasn't the one chosen for the globe side. It's another guy named Dave McKeegan who's also going, and also another flat earther named Jaron is going. The reason the two flat earthers are going is because one's worried that that the FBI or some secret organization is going to come in and take them away. But like MC Toon and Dave McKeegan have been planning their photography set up just so they can see get a 24-hour sun. But Jaron also get some plans set up, but it doesn't look like he's got anything set up, and this is just a DM between him and Big Tech, and it shows some sketchy thoughts in his head.
All right, ready to show on my screen here.
All right, I'm showing the first one that I sent you.
All right.
It's some reading. So back on March 18th of earlier this year, I believe, I was trying to set up to have him on my show, and we had a conversation before. I don't remember if it was on X or on Discord or something, but I was like, dude, we need to talk more. He goes, oh, I had called in on his show. I think he was streaming Flat Earth stuff, and he brought me on to Flat Smack Me, right? And he brought me in, and I was being inquisitive, I was still just like learning his stuff, and I wasn't being duplicitous, but I was just being open-minded because I want to understand the other person so I can do an internal critique rather than just calling him stupid. I want to really understand where he's coming from, and a lot of things I hadn't ever heard of. I hadn't heard of interferometry yet. I didn't know about Aries failure yet. I didn't know about Michelson-Morley. These were new terms to me at that time, and this guy
Michelson-Morley is an experiment where they set up 2 arms many kilometers long with a beam splitter, and the light was shown through the beam splitter, and it went one direction in the direction of the motion of the earth around the sun, and 190 degrees to it. If there was what they called an ether, which was this substance that the light was supposed to travel through, but didn't provide any resistance to the planets, but if there was an ether, the light would slow down in the one going in the direction of the orbit, and when they came back, they would reflected off of 2 mirrors. They would come back and combine, and if there was a difference, there would be a slight change in the diffraction pattern. There was no change in the diffraction pattern. There's been several other experiments since then that proves that they did it right. Plus, there's also one, I think this guy named Miller, who did it in his basement, open air, and but this kind of experiments actually, I think it did it in like a second or third year lab, but it's a much shorter distance. Aries failure was, there was an astronomer named Airy, in England. He actually became the Astronomer Royal, which is the highest rank of astronomer in England. He filled a telescope with water and compared it between the position of the stars without water in a telescope, and there was no difference. So it kind of showed that there wasn't an ether. So that's what those experiments were. And flat earthers think that the Michelson-Morley was to prove if the Earth was rotating around or going around the sun. No, it wasn't. It was just to prove if there was an ether.
Guys like getting into all of these papers and talking about what they mean and debunking Einstein, and I went, all right, this is interesting. So I'm hearing him out, and he goes, yeah, man, I appreciate your
debunking Einstein is one of the things a lot of, I'll call them alternate physics theorists want to say. So there's other words for these people, because if you can prove Einstein was wrong, you can prove relativity is wrong. They can prove a lot of things that they want to prove. It's just one of their number one targets.
Curiosity, we could follow up anytime. So I followed up with him to have him on my stream so we could talk more deeply. And I think this might be why he opened up to me, which is this is a little betrayal of his trust that he placed in. But here we are. Okay, so I'm sharing with you what he said to me then. In good faith, he shared with me the deep details of his beliefs, and this is what we're about to read. All right.
All right.
So he goes, yo, I just remembered seeing you in that space, because I had said to him, okay, cool, what's a good day next week? Should I pick a topic, or do you have a preference? He goes, I wasn't trying to duck you. I totally forgot, but thanks for dropping out and letting me pop on stage real quick. Oh yeah, he had come into a space that I was on. He goes, if you still want to stream, let me know. And we don't have to talk about just flat earth, by the way. And then he goes into the Jesuit stuff. He goes, the Jesuits run the world. You can prove the Rothschilds, who are Jewish, work for the Jesuit order. For example, there's some typos in here. So the Zionists are puppets, and they're about to throw the Jews under the bus and watch them burn in front of the entire world. So the Jesuits are actually pulling the strings of the Jews.
That prophecy hasn't happened yet.
Well, he thinks that Trump is going to be like the way that they do it, by the way. That's what he thinks the Q stuff is about, and Trump getting back in.
Wow.
Trump is actually like a string puller who's going to do this big betrayal on them, which gives them a justification to retaliate against us, and he's going to get us into World War III by doing a backstab on the Jews. So that's what he thinks is going on. So they're about to throw the Jews under the bus and watch them burn the entire world. They're going to watch Jerusalem burn to the ground, he says. I mean, just look around you, bro. They're blatantly committing genocide in front of the entire world after a false flag attack right after X was available for it all to be talked about freely. He's talking about October 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw who Elon is, but of course he is. He fakes space. Laughing emoji. It was all a plan, and it's brilliant. This is the important part, though. If we expose Zionism but not Catholicism, then we're done. It literally means universal. Catholicism, Catholic means universal. He says, so they will scoop in and build on top of the ashes a new Catholic universal church, he said, which is run by the Jesuits, who are the evil overlords. Trump isn't just a Zionist, he is Jesuit trained. Alex Jones, Zionist shill and Jesuit.
What?
Art of War, written by Jesuits. Heliocentric model, Jesuits.
Wait,
Found in Israel, Jesuits.
Art of War was written by a guy named Zhenzu in ancient China. I think they mentioned it, but it's before Christ, so it was before the Jesuits. So the Jesuits had nothing to do with the Art of War. Yeah.
You get it. Yeah, he's saying Sun Tzu is a fake character invented by the Jesuit. Can you believe it? So epic.
Somebody tell the Chinese.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can easily pull up to the second one here.
They are Satanists. They don't care about their own. My succinct answer would be the Jews under the bus and watch them burn entire world. I'm having someone on my show to break everything down with resources this week, which, by the way, I think he's talking about Dustin Nemos. Because Dustin Nemos is on all this stuff, and that's his wheelhouse.
That's his deal. Yep.
So I'm having someone on my show to break everything down with resources this week, and I will just send you the stream, which he didn't, but he goes, because that's kind of my point. This take is what no one is actually talking about or laying out. I can send you some info in the meantime, though, so they do not care if everyone just points to the Jews IMO. They have decided to throw them under the bus. They are Satanists. They don't care about their own. My succinct answer would be the quote-unquote Jesuits. They track all the way back to Babylon, and those are the fake Jews. Anyone trying to actually follow the Creator and who has a genuine love of the truth is their enemy. So he's talking about himself and the true Christians.
Yeah, no true Scotsman. But how do the Jesuits go back to... They're founded in the 1500s. How does he bridge that? The Jesuits represent a new incarnation of the ancient mystery Babylon schools of like Hermetic black magic. Oh my gosh.
Like the Baal worship, the child sacrificers, the blood magic rituals of Egypt, and
it's just because he wants Satan. It's just because he wants it to be, therefore it exists.
Well, right? I mean, they've hatched this big old, Warhammer 40K lore.
It's so much lore.
And
okay, I actually knew one Jesuit. He was actually professor emeritus at St. Mary's University. He was actually I think the last Jesuit at the university, and he was an astronomy professor, and he did radio astronomy. But the Jesuit. This is just what's its silliness.
Yeah. It gets even deeper. Here we go. So the Jesuits, he says, they track all the way back to Babylon, and those are the fake Jews. Anyone trying to actually follow the Creator and who has a genuine truth is their enemy. So they created what people refer to as Jews. And the most popular and original Talmud is what? The Babylonian Talmud. Which, by the way, it's called that because it was developed in Babylon, which is now Iraq. But that was developed after the Jerusalem burned. It was like around the same time as Christianity, even just a little after. Talmud is just a bunch of writings about the Torah that they did in Iraq when they fled Jerusalem. So anyway, he goes, but the original Talmud's what? The Babylonian Talmud. The people at the top of Zionism are in the Jesuit order. But these are all just front names for Babylon to make you think that they're not all on the same team, by the way. So people can say stupid things like, but the Catholics weren't, but the Catholics went at the Jews, blah, blah, which, by the way, the Catholics did have skirmishes with the Jews here and there. He goes, well, actually, they want all the real believers and they went at all the real believers and completely massacred them. So he's saying that when they went at the quote-unquote Jews, the Catholics did like the Inquisitions or whatever. What they were actually doing is killing the real Christians, and then they were saying that they were killing Jews.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want MC Toon coming after me for copyright. But, I don't think he will. But he also thinks that the Jews were the product of what they call the Nephilim, which are some kind of fallen angels, and they reproduced with women, and they created these beasts that had big teeth and big noses and stuff. And he's not I've also on Twitter there is like notice, Austin Whitsit's talking, and went in there, and nope, it didn't want to stay there long. They used the word starting with K to describe the Jews, not Austin, but the main host. So we'll leave it at that, and basically that's their mindset. Okay, I'm gonna go, and we're gonna go to Mikey Smith. Mikey is one of Canada's leading flat Earth researchers. He right now is he's suing the Canadian Space Agency, and any similarity between my initials of my channel and Canadian Space Agency is just by chance. I wanted the Space Advocate, but there's a guy in the States who has that, so I put Canadian Space Advocate. I've had other handles too, but this is what he thinks a picture of the galaxy looks like, and because he's trying to prove shows the firmament, or because they think it's a shell. But also, Mikey's going to try to sue NASA next year. Good luck, because he thinks he's going to get 33.3% of NASA's budget. How can you say this with suppressing laughter? No. NASA hasn't faked anything or fraud, but they think that the International Space Station's in a pool in Houston. There is, or is it Houston or in Florida? But or is it Alabama? There's several main sites for NASA, but they think it's but there is a training facility that is underwater that simulates weightlessness, but it's one of their main arguments. It makes no sense, but he thinks NASA is going to give him access and show him that it's all fake, and but also he's not a fan of Dave Weiss. Dave Weiss is one of the leaders of the Flat Earth movement, and he has this app that is apparently pretty scammy. But we'll let Mikey talk here for a minute, show what he's talking about with the galaxy.
You want to see the firmament? I will give it to you. Of course, it's nighttime. You can look at these two indents here and this surface running through here. And there's a surface here. I've got better pictures than this yet too. I've got lots.
How he took these pictures was he took his cell phone and put it through a pair of binoculars. And these aren't good pictures of the galaxy. What? Okay. Just 1 second here. Sorry for this. Where is that folder? I thought I had it all lined up. Ooh, you get to see what I took screenshots of. Okay. Actually, the picture, that's actually a better picture of the galaxy. I took this from a website about how to take pictures of the galaxy. But you can see, I don't know what part of the galaxy he's looking at, but you can see his picture is not that great. But I think that's the maximum you can zoom in. The resolution kind of goes off, but I think he's going for these voids as proof of the firmament, or the dome, but these are giant clouds of dust that's absorbing the light from the stars behind it. And oh yeah, I got pictures. For about a year I did took pictures for astronomy students, and this is a galaxy NGC 891, and see, this is dust. This actually proves part of my other point. This is dust that just happens to be in the main part of the galaxy, and then you have the nucleus of the galaxy there. But then you see the stars look like this. They kind of look circular. This one's these are off because the tracking motor was off, I think. But it was a while ago. But let Mikey talk here for a few minutes.
You can see that there's something here between the stars. And all of the stars are side by side. There is no depth to the stars.
There is no depth because they're so far away. They could be light years away. You can't tell just by looking at them from Earth. You have to look at redshifts and stuff and parallax. So you can't just tell by just looking at them. And he's going to say 10,000 miles. If they were only 10,000 miles to get apart, they would be inside of each other.
This star here is not 10,000 miles further in distance from this star. They are all side by side stuck in this surface, as you see right in front of you in plain sight. Blondie Man. Picture taking. This is the firmament.
This is what he thinks Sirius looks like. Honestly, this is what he thinks it looks like. No, it doesn't. It just looks like a little round circle in a telescope if you do it properly. So I'm going to leave that there. And finally, we have Alex Jones. Alex Jones was a conspiracy theorist who had his own podcast, or I think he started with a radio show or podcast. He promoted things like 9/11 was an inside job, vaccines are bad for you, etc., etc. And there was the Sandy Hook shootings. I can't remember which year it was in, but in Connecticut, a person went into a school. He got his mother's gun and went in it and shot children and teachers at the school. Alex went on and said that the people who were crying after, the people that were interviewed afterwards, the parents of the victims, were crisis actors. They were actors that were hauled around from place to place to pretend to be victims of the shootings. And then people went around and harassed these people for years, and they had to move, and property damage and all this and psychological issues. And they sued Alex Jones, one group in Connecticut, one group in Texas, and the final charge was over $1 billion. And Alex Jones was forced to sell his network because the way he makes his money is he sells vitamins over the network. And the Onion, which is a satirical website who makes fun of all kinds of stuff, political and all this stuff. They talked to the victims, and they came up with a deal to buy the Onion. The only other person who was trying to buy the Onion was Alex Jones through a company that he owns, but his name's not on the paperwork. So far as we know, is the Onion is going to be sold. The Infowars, which is Alex Jones' website, is going to be sold to the Onion. There is a judge looking into it, make sure the deal is done fairly, but it looks like it's going down. And thankfully, the Infowars was a source of a lot of silliness and pain in the only thing Alex Jones didn't believe in was the flat Earth. He did a show with Dave Weiss, and Alex Jones was into astronomy a bit, and he knows all where the planets look like and all this stuff. So he was quite upset about the flat Earth. But yeah, a lot of I think I remember there was one FEMA had a site where they had a bunch of stuff being stored, and he's saying, no, this is ready for concentration camps. FEMA is the American, I think it's the Federal Emergency organization or association or something, agency. I can't think of what the M stands for. But they are the ones that go into places after hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes. And of course they would have all the stuff stored up in the yard, ready to go in case there was a hurricane or a storm. So I was good. They silenced him. But it's not. Here's the thing with free speech. You can say whatever you want, but you also have the consequences of what you say. If you cause harm to other people directly or indirectly by what you say, they have a right to sue you, or especially in the States. But you can't say anything you want and get away with it. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. My voice finally cleared up. I tried this a couple times earlier tonight, and my voice just I was a little plugged up. So have a good night, and I hope everybody enjoys this little roundup of silliness this week. Goodbye.